Hello there, you're welcome to our YouTube series on how to start a clothing business. My name is Laoye and I'm your go-to person when it comes to building a profitable fashion business. In today's edition, I will be talking about the first step you need to take in starting your clothing business. And that first step is carving a niche for your brand. Do you know how to carve a niche for your brand? Welcome, because I will be teaching you how to do so. First, let's look at it this way. What is a niche? A niche is an area of clothing that you specialize in that has a big enough market for you to keep selling again and again and again. The interesting thing about a niche is that you have specialty in that kind of clothing, which means you are good when it comes to making those kind of clothing. At the same time, there is a big market out there for you, and that big market guarantees continuous supply, because if you have an area of specialization in clothing but there isn't a big enough market for you, your business will not be able to last long. Once you exhaust the customer base that you can access, then it means that you have to look for another line of work. But once you can find the market that is big enough for the kind of clothing that you want to venture into, then you have a niche. You can build your niche around the type of clothing that you want to specialize in, or around the kind of people you want to be making clothes for. So let's break it down further. You see, when it comes to clothing, there are some types of clothing that will always have a ready market, and there are some types of clothing that they would only generate sales occasionally. When you're starting out in your clothing business, focus on those types of clothing that have a need on a regular basis. For instance, people go to work, right, every day, so they need workwear. People go to parties on the weekend, they need party wears. People have kids, right, that they're catering to. Young kids that are catering to, right, they need clothing for them. There are so many types of clothing you can get to make. Those are just some examples that we have out there of clothing that you can choose to carve a niche in. What matters the most is that there should be a ready market. There should be a sizable market. There should be potential to keep generating sales. That is what makes a niche. And when we talk about a niche, it doesn't mean it has to be restricted to where you are based right now. Your present location, where your business is situated, may not have enough of the kind of customers that you need. However, if you can find other markets, other locations that you can get customers from, then it means that your niche is viable. So please don't mix things up by thinking the niche has to have a ready market in your location only. No, you can be based in Lagos and your niche is serving across Africa. I mean, 7 countries across Africa. You can be based in New York and your niche is serving primarily customers in the Middle East. You can be based in Europe and your niche is serving customers in Asia. What matters is there is a sizable market that you can connect to sell. How do you identify your niche? First and foremost, you need to figure out the kind of clothing that you enjoy making, that you find easy to make. What that means simply is you don't want to venture into clothing that will take your time, stress you out, and you still can deliver top-notch designs. You should figure out kinds of clothing. When we talk about types of clothing, I'm referring to garments, types of garments that you are good at making. Okay, so as you're listening to me, could you get your pen and paper and do this quick exercise? Make a list of the different types of clothing that you enjoy making. I'm sure you're gonna have a lot that you can do. List all of them out, okay? You list all of them on paper. I mean, list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can list as many. The key here is they have to be clothing you enjoy making. You can so easily, they can take time to produce, but you still enjoy doing them, and people tell you you make a good work of them. Okay, so once you can list all of those clothing out, right, now look through your list and identify those specific types of clothing, right, that are usually in demand. That there are a lot of people that request for such kinds of clothing, that you find out that online there's a trend, there's demand, people are asking for those kind of clothing. List those ones, tick those ones that you've identified. Once you've done that, you will be able to separate those that have potential to generate consistent cash flow. Those are the ones you can start with as your niche. That's one way to go about it. Okay, now once you're done with this exercise, you may be surprised to find out that all of the clothing that you list, they fall into these categories. Congratulations. Or you may find out that there's just 1 or 2 types of clothing, right, that fit the bill. Then in that case, it means your niche has been narrowed down. Now, once you can identify the clothing, right, that you are comfortable making, which there is usually demand for, from the list that you have generated, what you do next is you give it a title, you give it a description. Like, say for instance, let's say you are good at making tops, skirts, blouses, 2-piece outfits, right? You're good at making jackets, and you're good at making what else? Kimonos. And from this list, you realize that there's a big demand for kimono, there's a big demand for tops, there's a big demand for for blouses. Then it means those are the clothing that you want to venture into and build a niche around. That's the first part of the equation. The second part of the equation, therefore, is this. You tend to look at the kind of people that you want to serve. Okay? Who are the kind of people you would like to serve? You would like to have as customers. Okay? Wherever these people are, you tie them to the type of clothing you are making. So the clothing that you've identified that there's a big market enough for, right, that you want to have a niche around, then you tie it that is connected to the people that you think those kind of clothing are for. If I pick a kimono, if I pick a top, if I pick a dress as the types of clothing that there's a big enough market for me to venture into, then I look at the kind of people that wear those kind of clothing. Okay, kimonos are worn by Gen Z ladies, then I can say my niche is making kimonos, dresses, and blouses, say for example, for Gen Zs. So in that way, I've been able to connect the kind of clothing I'm working out to focus on and the audience that I am making them for. I hope that is clear enough. I hope you've been able to see some connection with that. So the first exercise that I pointed out was that of you listing out all of the clothing that you can make, right? Effortlessly, that you can make effortlessly, followed by ticking the ones that you've seen there is usually a recurrent demand for. There's usually consistent demand. People buy them a lot, people request them and whatnot. Now, once you figure those ones out, right, those now make up the clothing that you should carve your niche around. The second part of the equation from what I've shared earlier is now to identify the kind of people that you want to be making those kind of clothing for. Even though you like to make kimonos, not everybody out there who loves kimonos will be your audience, will be your customers. Okay, so that means that you need to identify the audience, the kind of people that you would love to be making this clothing for. Then you connect the two together to form your niche. This is the foundation knowledge I'm giving to you. Don't worry, I would release other videos, right, where we would break it further, naming your niche and whatnot. But for now, this is how you identify. Now, the summary of what I've shared with you so far is that you need to identify the specific types of clothing you want to carve your niche around that has a sizable market. Once you've decided that, then you need to figure out the kind of people that you would love to serve with your clothing. They are your customers. They are the people that will wear your clothing. Now, the interesting thing about you being a fashion entrepreneur is that you've been given the gift of creativity. You are creative. So what this means is you are applying your creativity to coming up with designs, creative designs for those type of clothing you've identified you want to carve a niche for, and you want to use your creativity to serve this audience you have identified. That's how you do it in terms of carving a niche for yourself. Oh, how do we title my niche? Don't worry, we'll talk about that later. But for now, get busy with what I've taught you and make the most of it. Once you can figure this out, then we proceed to the next step. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this series. Watch out for the next video because I will be talking about creating a portfolio of designs for your niche. Thank you.